Good day and welcome to our talk, Bears Empowering Data-Driven Decisions Using the ELK Stack. My name is Justine Harney. I'm the Vice President and Head of Product Design here at Bigbear.ai. I'm here with my colleagues, Krista Smith, a Senior Data Scientist, and Justine Benoit, a UI UX Designer, presenting with me today. Here is our agenda for today. First, we're going to set the stage and give a bit of background of the system we are monitoring using the ELK Stack. Second, we go into our approach, describing our process from context to decisions. Next, we describe key stakeholders. We have multiple, and each stakeholder requires different contexts and data. Fourth, we then describe our architecture in integrating the ELK Stack. And then finally, the really good stuff, which is the live demonstration of our visualizations in Kibana. So first, let's set the stage. Our situation starts with a 15-year-old legacy system that's deeply rooted in the enterprise. It's been used for years, and the legacy analysts run through critical but very cumbersome workflows in pretty much their sleep. Though incredibly inefficient, change can be really hard. So our job is to create a minimum viable product, and this minimum viable product needs to modernize the capability as well as the workforce, but keep them efficient and progressing as they change. But how do we know this new way is working? Our goal is not just to make a minimum viable product, but truly a minimum lovable product. A product that the enterprise transitions to and actively engages with. So we need a way to see what is happening in order to make those data-driven decisions on changes. And as we work through agile development, we need to understand what's going on and what's being used, what's effective and what's not effective. So that's where the ELK Stack came in. So over to Justine to talk through our approach. Justine?
Thank you, Christine. So over here, our approach has 4 key steps. First is understanding the context. Second is to define key performance indicators or KPIs. Third is to execute, visualize, and analyze the data. And lastly, based on what we gather from the data, we begin prioritizing decisions and action items. So let's go over each step. Understanding the context. We begin by asking questions. What is the purpose of our product? What are our goals? What kind of impact do we want to make? These questions dictate the direction of our strategy. Next is to define the KPIs. We ask the question, what does success look like? By describing success outcomes, identifying contributing user actions, and by determining what metrics to track, we are able to consistently evaluate the performance as well as the effectiveness and usability of our product through feature focus and continuous monitoring. Third would be to execute, visualize, and analyze. With our goals defined and our metrics determined, we can effectively communicate to our stakeholders information that is valuable to them through storytelling with the ELK Stack. Now, storytelling with the ELK Stack allows us to effectively communicate the data discovered by telling a story about the numbers through intuitive and compelling visual elements. Through these analytics, we are able to make evidence-driven decisions, which leads us to the last step, which is to prioritize decisions. These analytics drive the decisions we make in improving our product. We prioritize these decisions by triangulating our analytics with our UX and market research, as well as what our stakeholders value the most, which then leads us to our next slide, which is our stakeholders. We have 3 main groups of stakeholders. They're the C-suite and directors, capability management, and engineers. In order to effectively communicate our data to the stakeholders, we take the time and effort to understand and empathize with what is most valuable to them. For the C-suite and directors, what's valuable to them is asking the question, what is happening? Who is using the capability? Is there adoption over time? For the capability management team, they ask the questions, are features being used? What features are popular? What features are not? And what features are we missing? And the engineers, it's important for them to know how our features are being used. Are features working as we intended? And how's the performance? Our main objective is to provide transparency for multiple stakeholders to influence decisions through data. And now we return to Christine to go over our architecture. Christine?
Thanks, Justine. Our application is made up of a front end that provides a suite of features to the user to include logging in, geospatial search and discovery, saved searches, and crowdsourcing, a crowdsourcing feature that allows users to contribute information and knowledge about a location on the map, for example, a coffee shop. Various APIs provide that data and interactions with a backend that include Elasticsearch, Postgres, and multiple log files. So using Logstash, we quickly pull in what we need from the stores, ingesting it directly into Elasticsearch, and then quickly enabling those visualizations for the various stakeholders that Justine mentioned through Kibana. So here is where the good stuff happens. We now move to our live demonstration where both Krista and Justine will walk us through visualizations that are completely tailored for various stakeholders, giving them what they need to make data-driven decisions, specifically around the development and the effectiveness of the features related to our MVP. Over to you, Krista.
Thanks, Christine. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up our director dashboard. So this is going to start out with just a very high-level overview of sort of the general state of our application. As Justine mentioned, we have several different stakeholders, and this would primarily be of interest to our C-level and director stakeholders and illustrates general usage. As I said, our C-level stakeholders are primarily interested in seeing that users are continuing to engage with the application and that various features are being utilized. Since we made this in Canvas, we're able to really customize it to our application, but we still are keeping it pretty self-explanatory. This is exactly what we want because, our directors, they just want to have a quick look. They don't want to spend a lot of time deciphering granular metrics or drilling down into using filters and that sort of thing. So on the left, we have a graphic that describes how many accounts there are, as well as how many accounts are users versus visitors. With users being those accounts where individuals have logged in, they're really participating with the platform. They're adding data or they're commenting on data, that sort of thing. And visitors are really those that have made an account, have maybe logged in once or twice, they kind of popped in, kicked the tires a little bit, but they've never really engaged in a meaningful way. And since we've developed this on Canvas, we can actually use the expression editor to develop some really sophisticated algorithms to measure engagement based on several metrics that we've collected. In the middle there, we have our account goals, as well as who's getting us there. And finally, on the right and the bottom, we have our application trends. So just a quick look, if we see a bunch of green arrows over there on the right, that indicates that our usage is trending up, and this is what our directors and our C-suite users really want to see. So we can collect all kinds of data, but if we don't aggregate that data and display it in a meaningful fashion, it doesn't help us at all. So to that end, we're going to show you a couple of additional dashboards that can be utilized by our engineering and capability management teams. And these are really just a few examples of the many, many metrics that we can track. Furthermore, Kibana makes it very easy to customize these dashboards so that we can visualize what's important to this particular stakeholder or for this particular mission, without a bunch of extraneous stuff that you might find in sort of a boilerplate dashboard. So this first one we're looking at is our application acceptance dashboard. So while the Canvas visualization gave us a very stylized, high-level view of the application, our engineers and designers are going to want to have a more granular view to ensure that our features are working as expected. So in this example, we wanted to make sure that we were engaging not only our legacy users, but also new users who haven't used the system before. So as you can see from the panel on the top left here, while we initially were attracting mostly legacy users, as time went on, our user base began to include more and more users who had never really worked with the system before. And eventually, we were attracting more users who had never worked on the system. We also wanted to track the effects of providing training courses on our user base. So as you can see here, we noticed that initially koala bears, which are these pink bears down here, they really were lagging behind in account creation. So we provided a training course in early February of 2020, right here-ish, yep, right there. And after that, we saw a significant spike in account creation within the koala bear directorate. And not only that, but if we look over here, we also see that our koala bears continued to log in at a higher rate than our other bears. So this is a good indication that not only did our training attract new users, but it gave them the tools they needed to really engage with the platform and to continue using it well after the training had completed. So we can use this data to plan future training. If we notice that a certain group is lagging behind in account creation or isn't using a particular feature as much as another group, we can step in to make sure that our clients are utilizing the application to its full potential. Now, when it gets right down to it, we are in the business of exposing the right data to the right people at the right time. So we want to make sure that we have the data that our users are actually looking for. This next dashboard is our data monitoring dashboard. So our platform contains an integrated saved search feature that allows users to define a search of interest by geographical area or key terms or both of those things, and then they save that search within their profile. If the number of hits on that search changes, they're alerted, generally through an email. So once again, we were able to design this dashboard to expose exactly the data we were interested in seeing for this feature. Kibana provides templates for a lot of very nice graphs. But even if you want something that's not specifically provided by a Kibana dashboard graph, you can actually code those things up in something called Vega. So for example, this box plot here is not a boilerplate or not a template graph, but that was coded in Vega because this exposes the data that we want to see. So as you can see in this, all of our bear types are using the save search feature at about the same rate, but our polar bears over here, they're just not getting a lot of hits. And we wanted to understand why that was happening. So thanks to the filtering on the fly capabilities within Kibana, we can go ahead and we can filter our dashboard just to see polar bear data, or I'm sorry, polar bear data. Where'd they go? There they are. Polar bear data. And when we do this, we notice that our polar bears are primarily searching up here in Alaska, right? Because that makes sense, right? They're polar bears, they like it cold. That's where they're going to be hanging out. But unfortunately, we know that we don't really have a lot of data points up in Alaska. So this is a good indication to us that there's some area of interest that we are not fulfilling with the data that we currently have in our system. So we might need to reach out for new data sources. We might need to add some kind of data collection technique to our repertoire because we want to make sure that we're providing the data that our users really want. And finally, we want to talk a little bit about usability. Usability is incredibly important, obviously, when we're talking about an application. So Justine, who is our UI UX expert, is going to go ahead and show you one final dashboard. Go ahead, Justine.
Thanks so much, Krista. So in this example, we are looking at our contributions capability, where bears can contribute information about a location on the map and add it as an official record in our database. This particular dashboard is our feature monitoring, and we're monitoring the contributions capability. So we launched a new version of our application on January of 2020. And as you can see here, we noticed that there was a sudden increase in failed promotions. So breaking that further, we learned that the majority of these failed promotions were from legacy bears. So we then conducted a usability study with our legacy bears or legacy users and discovered that the new interface just wasn't connecting with them. There was a very important field that they kept missing, which then caused their promotions to fail. So revisiting that design along with engineering, We redesigned the interface and launched it in April. And over here, we can see that there is a vast improvement in our success rate from our legacy users. Now, another great tool we like to use in Elasticsearch is APM, which we don't have here at the moment. But with APM, we are able to catch anomalies and trace it down to its source. APM allows us, our engineering teams, to catch bugs and rectify them proactively. And so we can see here, by leveraging the ELK stack to observe our application in real time, triangulating these analytics with qualitative user research and team collaboration, we're able to proactively deliver a minimum lovable product to the community. And here to close us out is Christine. Christine?
Thanks, Justine. So by leveraging the ELK stack to observe our application in real time, triangulating these analytics with qualitative user research and team collaboration, we are able to proactively deliver a minimum lovable product to the community. So from all three of us, we really hope you enjoyed this presentation, and we hope this gives you new ideas on how you might apply the ELK stack to make data-driven decisions. Thank you for joining our talk.